this is the reason why we haven't seen Caitlin at 100%. We haven't seen her as quick as we saw her last season.
The WNBA believed they had the chaos under control. For months, league officials celebrated rising ticket sales, national broadcasts, and record-breaking merchandise sales. The energy surrounding the 2025 season was undeniable. From packed arenas to constant viral highlights, it seemed like women's basketball had finally stepped into the mainstream spotlight. But on June 18, 2025, all of that momentum collided with reality. What was meant to be another showcase game between the Connecticut Sun and the Indiana Fever turned into the most talked about, most polarizing moment in league history. A game that spiraled so far beyond normal competition, it exposed deeper cracks within the league, flaws that had been ignored for far too long. No punches were thrown that night, but the physicality, the tempers, and the fallout left a mark that couldn't be undone. It all started as a headline event. June 18th was circled on calendars as one of the most exciting games of the season. The Connecticut Sun were set to face the Indiana Fever in a battle featuring some of the league's most compelling players. Fans packed the arena, cameras rolled, and millions tuned in at home. But let's be honest, this game wasn't just about two teams. All eyes were glued to Caitlin Clark, the league's breakout star, and the player many credit for catapulting the WNBA into mainstream conversations. Her rookie season had been a whirlwind of highlight reel plays, sold-out crowds, and endless debate shows discussing her every move. But as the game unfolded, it became clear this wouldn't be a celebration of Clark's talent. By the third quarter, basketball took a back seat, and personal rivalries took center stage. The physical play that night was impossible to ignore. Hard screens, tough rebounds, aggressive defense, it's part of the game. But somewhere along the way, the line between competitive and excessive was crossed. J.C. Sheldon, known for her intense defensive pressure and willingness to get under opponents' skin, decided to set the tone by locking in on Caitlin Clark. The two battled for possession after possession, with the tension building like a powder keg ready to blow. And then it happened, the moment that shifted the entire atmosphere in the arena. As Sheldon defended Clark, her hand shot up and connected directly with Clark's eye. This wasn't incidental contact. Fans in the crowd gasped, commentators fell silent, and social media lit up within seconds. Clark stumbled, clearly disoriented, but she didn't retreat. She gathered herself, stood tall, and delivered a forceful shove back at Sheldon, a message that couldn't be misunderstood. You picked the wrong one. The referees immediately blew their whistles, signaling a stoppage in play, but the energy inside the building was already out of control. The fans, the players, the coaches, everyone could feel it. This wasn't going to cool off quietly. The incident turned the game from a basketball contest into an emotional battlefield. Players from both teams circled around, words were exchanged, and the tension became impossible to contain. For a brief moment, it seemed like the officials might regain control, but that illusion shattered just minutes later when Marina Mabrey escalated the situation beyond anyone's expectations. With play stopped and temper still high, Mabrey charged toward Caitlin Clark and delivered a body check so jarring, the entire arena froze in disbelief. It wasn't a hard foul within the flow of the game. It was deliberate, targeted, and meant to send a message. Caitlin Clark hit the floor hard. Cameras captured every painful second as the league's brightest star, the player at the center of their marketing, their television deals, their future growth, lay face down on the hardwood. The silence in the arena was deafening. Even the most seasoned commentators were momentarily speechless, struggling to process what had just unfolded in front of them. But once the initial shock wore off, the noise returned tenfold. Fans erupted, players shoved one another, and the officials scrambled to bring order to a game that had officially spun off the rails. Clark, in typical fashion, kept her composure publicly. She offered a brief post-game statement, choosing her words carefully, but her silence in that moment only made the situation bigger. The damage was done, and this game would not be forgotten anytime soon. The officiating breakdown that followed only fueled the outrage. Technical fouls were handed out rapidly, as if the referees were tossing out band-aids to cover a gaping wound. Caitlin Clark received one, despite being on the receiving end of the night's most dangerous plays. Marina Mabrey earned a technical as well for her body check, and even veteran Tina Charles got caught up in the chaos, slapped with a technical foul as tempers boiled over. But the most controversial part? J.C. Sheldon's blatant eye poke, a flagrant one. Marina Mabrey's violent body slam, the one that sent Clark crashing to the floor, somehow classified as just a technical foul. No ejection, no significant punishment, just a warning and an empty gesture toward restoring control. Fans were stunned. Analysts questioned the officials' judgment, and the league's credibility took a hit in real time. Social media exploded in response. Within minutes, hashtags like #BanMabrey and #JusticeForClark trended worldwide. Fans flooded the comment sections of WNBA pages, calling out the league's inconsistent enforcement of its own rules. Critics argued that the league cared more about protecting its image than protecting its players. The WNBA's No Space for Hate campaign, a public initiative meant to showcase inclusivity and sportsmanship, suddenly became the butt of jokes across platforms. Commentators and former players weighed in, many expressing disbelief that such dangerous behavior could go virtually unpunished during one of the league's biggest games of the season. But rather than calming down, the controversy only intensified as the hours passed. And the players at the center of it? They weren't done speaking. Most athletes might have chosen to stay quiet after a game this explosive, but Marina Mabrey went in the opposite direction. Hours after the game, with emotion still raw, she took to Instagram Live alongside teammate Sonia Rivers and reignited the firestorm. There was no carefully crafted PR statement, no apologies, no attempt to soften the blow. Mabrey was direct, defiant, and unapologetic. "Damned if I do, damned if I don't," she declared to thousands watching in real time, making it clear she wouldn't back down from criticism. She defended J.C. Sheldon, called out the delusional outrage from fans and media alike, and openly mocked those demanding accountability. The comments poured in, some praising Mabrey's toughness, others condemning her for pouring gasoline on an already raging fire. Regardless of where people stood, one fact was undeniable. Mabrey wasn't going to fade quietly into the background. Meanwhile, J.C. Sheldon chose a very different approach. As the public debate intensified, Sheldon remained completely silent. No tweets, no Instagram posts, no interviews. She disappeared from the spotlight, letting the chaos play out without adding her voice to the narrative. In today's world of instant reactions and constant commentary, that silence was impossible to ignore. It left room for speculation, criticism, and conspiracy theories to grow. Some believed Sheldon's silence was strategic, a calculated decision to avoid fueling the controversy. Others saw it as cowardice, claiming she couldn't handle the heat of the moment or the pressure that comes with being under the national microscope. Either way, the absence of her voice only magnified the story and created a stark contrast with Mabrey's outspoken defiance. The WNBA's response, or lack thereof, became its own controversy. In the immediate aftermath, the league seemed to treat the incident like business as usual. Marina Mabrey received a modest $400 fine after her technical was quietly upgraded to a flagrant 2. J.C. Sheldon kept her flagrant 1 classification for the eye poke. No suspensions, no major statements from the league office. It was as if they hoped the storm would pass on its own. But the frustration from fans, players, and media only grew louder. It became clear the league underestimated the fallout. Public trust was eroding by the hour, and the perception that the league prioritized image over player safety began dominating the conversation. Eventually, after days of mounting pressure, the league reversed course. Suspensions were handed down to both Mabrey and Sheldon, a rare show of accountability from league officials. But by then, it was too late to put the genie back in the bottle. Fans weren't satisfied. Commentators ripped into the WNBA for their slow response, and the broader conversation shifted from one ugly game to the league's overall direction. The incident raised uncomfortable questions about how the league handles physical play, protects its most marketable stars, and ensures fair competition. For a league riding the wave of growth, these questions couldn't be ignored any longer. The consequences of that night went beyond fines and suspensions. Caitlin Clark's injury sidelined her for 2 weeks, a blow to her team and the league's momentum. Attendance numbers dipped. Television ratings softened, and the league's rapid rise suddenly looked fragile. The uncomfortable truth emerged. The WNBA's success had become dangerously reliant on one player's star power. Clark wasn't just a rookie sensation. She was the driving force behind record-breaking ticket sales, social media engagement, and unprecedented media attention. But no league can survive long-term by putting all its hopes on one player's shoulders. The WNBA is filled with talent beyond Caitlin Clark. Veterans like Aya Wilson, Breanna Stewart, and rising stars like Sabrina Ionescu have the skills and charisma to help elevate the league. But the spotlight has been locked onto Clark, and that imbalance creates risks. The league must focus on building broader narratives, promoting multiple stars, and creating compelling rivalries that draw in new fans. Physical play is part of basketball's DNA, but without consistent rules and real accountability, incidents like June 18th won't be isolated. They'll become routine, damaging the league's credibility and long-term future. One player whose actions flew under the radar was Sophie Cunningham. Real basketball fans noticed what happened. During the peak of the chaos, Cunningham stepped up, not with words, but with a calculated hard foul of her own. Some called it dirty. Others labeled it protecting your teammate. Regardless of interpretation, Cunningham's actions reignited the age-old debate about physicality in sports. How far is too far? At what point does defending your team cross over into reckless behavior? And are these moments adding to the league's entertainment value, or slowly tearing it apart from within? These are questions the WNBA must address before the next viral incident spirals out of control. Caitlin Clark isn't just another rookie. She represents a movement. From her record-breaking NCAA career to her viral WNBA debut, Clark has shifted how people view women's basketball. Every arena she steps into feels electric. Fans show up in jerseys. Young girls line the tunnels with homemade signs. Opposing teams see ticket sales double when Clark is in town. The numbers don't lie. She's driving attention in ways the league has never seen before. But that level of influence comes with a price. She's not just playing basketball. She's carrying the league's public image, business growth, and mainstream appeal on her shoulders. And when your most valuable player is targeted on the court without consistent protection, it sends a dangerous message to fans, to players, and to sponsors watching closely. At the surface, this incident might seem like another heated sports moment, but peel back the layers, and it reveals the fragile business reality the WNBA faces. Sponsors want stability. Broadcasters want marketable storylines. Fans want competitive games, but they also want their favorite players healthy and thriving. The league has seen its merchandise sales skyrocket, its social media presence explode, and TV ratings hit new highs, all thanks in large part to personalities like Caitlin Clark. But the business model is still vulnerable. If star players get injured, or if fans believe the league isn't serious about player safety, the momentum stalls. And once that trust is broken, rebuilding it isn't easy. That's why league officials can't afford slow responses or inconsistent discipline. The stakes extend far beyond one game. The WNBA has always been rich with talent. From legends like Diana Taurasi to dominant forces like Aya Wilson, the league is filled with players capable of making headlines and drawing crowds. But the Clark phenomenon has created a spotlight so intense that even the league's established stars find themselves pushed to the background. That imbalance creates long-term risks. Basketball thrives on rivalries, not just individuals. The NBA grew by promoting Magic versus Bird, Jordan versus the Pistons, LeBron versus the Warriors. The WNBA must do the same, turning individual moments into lasting storylines that involve entire teams, not just one person. Without that depth, the league becomes too dependent on a single narrative. And as we've seen, that narrative can unravel fast when controversy strikes. Physical play has always been part of basketball's identity. Hard screens, box outs, gritty defense. It's what makes the game intense and unpredictable. But there's a fine line between physical and dangerous. And on June 18th, that line was crossed repeatedly. From J.C. Sheldon's "I poked" to Marina Mabrey's body check, the physicality wasn't about clean competition. It was about sending messages, testing boundaries, and pushing limits. Some fans love that toughness, calling it old-school basketball. Others see it as reckless, putting careers at risk and jeopardizing the league's credibility. The WNBA now faces a critical decision. Where does the line get drawn? Allowing physicality without consequences invites chaos, but overregulating the game risks losing its competitive edge. Finding that balance is the challenge that defines what comes next. The rise of social media has transformed sports. Moments go viral instantly. Player reactions reach millions in seconds, and public opinion can shift with one tweet or Instagram post. Marina Mabrey's Instagram Live was the perfect example. Her defiant attitude and refusal to back down ignited both support and outrage in real time. For athletes, social media is both a platform for empowerment and a breeding ground for controversy. The league benefits from the exposure, but they also lose control of the narrative when emotions run high. The fallout from Mabrey's post showed how quickly a situation can escalate off the court. And for the WNBA, learning to manage those moments is now as important as managing the games themselves. In contrast to Mabrey's fiery Instagram appearance, J.C. Sheldon's silence created its own storm. In today's world, staying quiet is rarely seen as neutral. It often fuels speculation. Fans and commentators wondered why she chose to disappear from public view. Was it strategic, letting the controversy cool off? Or was she overwhelmed, unprepared for the backlash that followed her actions? Regardless of the reason, Sheldon's silence became part of the narrative. It reminded the league that every player's response, or lack thereof, shapes public perception. Silence can be powerful, but in high-profile moments like this, it rarely goes unnoticed. Perhaps the biggest frustration among fans wasn't the incident itself, but the league's sluggish response to it. In the hours and days following June 18th, there was a deafening lack of urgency from WNBA officials. Fines were minimal. Technical fouls were quietly upgraded behind the scenes. It took mounting public outrage and endless social media debates before suspensions were finally announced. By then, the damage was done. Fans were questioning the league's priorities. Players were left without clarity, and the perception that the WNBA lacked control only deepened. In an era where every move is scrutinized, the league can't afford to react slowly. Immediate, transparent decisions aren't just about discipline. They're about maintaining trust. Caitlin Clark is more than a player. She's an investment. The league has poured resources into promoting her, building marketing campaigns around her, and showcasing her talents to new audiences. But investments need protection. The June 18th incident exposed how vulnerable the league's most valuable asset really is. Allowing star players to become targets without consequences puts the entire WNBA brand at risk. It's not just about Clark's health. It's about ensuring that the league's growth isn't derailed by preventable situations. History has shown that injuries to stars can stall entire sports. The WNBA must take that lesson seriously if they want sustained success. Sophie Cunningham's hard foul reignited an old-school basketball debate: the role of the enforcer. In the past, players like Dennis Rodman or Draymond Green embraced the role of protecting their teammates through physical play. Cunningham seemed to step into that space on June 18th, reminding opponents that taking shots at her teammates wouldn't go unanswered. But in today's game, the enforcer role is controversial. Some view it as necessary, an unspoken code that keeps players accountable. Others argue it invites escalation, turning games into dangerous spectacles. The WNBA has to address this tension, deciding whether the enforcer mentality belongs in modern women's basketball, or if it's a relic of the past better left behind. The events of June 18th will be remembered as more than just a controversial game. They mark a defining moment for the WNBA's future. The league stands at a crossroads. One path leads to global growth, increased respect, and a sustainable spotlight shared by multiple stars. The other path leads to fractured trust, uncontrolled physicality, and the risk of undermining all the progress made in recent years. How the WNBA handles this moment, through discipline, marketing, and player support, will shape its trajectory for years to come. History shows that great leagues are built in moments of crisis. The question is, will the WNBA rise to the occasion or fall victim to the same cracks they've been warned about? Here's the reality. The WNBA has never experienced this level of global attention. Viral highlights flood social media. Sold-out arenas are becoming more common. National headlines cover player rivalries and buzzer beaters. And at the center of it all, Caitlin Clark. But banking an entire league's growth on one star is risky business. History shows that the NBA survived and thrived beyond Michael Jordan. Tennis found new champions after Serena Williams. Golf evolved beyond Tiger Woods. The WNBA must do the same fast. Right now, the league stands at a crossroads. Will they build the next generation of stars, enforce clear rules to protect players, and ensure the game's integrity? Or will they allow chaos, inconsistency, and missed opportunities to define their future? That choice will determine whether the WNBA's growth continues or fades just as quickly as it arrived. What's your take? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow for more honest, unfiltered coverage of the WNBA's biggest stories. This season, it's only heating up.